didn't even get a chance to... Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, finally,
Amazing Yamaguchi All Might is here.
And I say finally because we've had the McFarlane All Might for a while now, but the other companies like Figma, we haven't even seen an All Might from them, have we? There's a Bandai America All Might that hasn't hit US shores, but we were waiting for the Kaiyodo version, just to switch things up and see how it fits with other versions of Midoriya and Todoroki and everybody else. Plus, I'm a fan of this line, even with the Revoltech joints, which they've been moving away from a little bit, making things a little bit easier and more fun, which is some people's problems. In the past, it's always been, oh my god, I hate these joints, but it's been slowly progressing, slowly evolving. Plus, it's My Hero Academia. Yeah, had to get it. Looking at the package, as much articulation as they stuff into the figure, they also stuff as many graphics and pictures and logos as they can on the outer cardboard. Big window showing the figure itself, but there's also accessories stuffed behind the graphic. And instructions. Oh, definitely need instructions. On the side, another promotional shot, and then that smash wraps around from here. But here we see lots more pretty promotional pics, some of the other heads that it comes with, small parts, don't put them in your mouth, and then a little tiny look at some of the other accessories. On the other side, the old comic book style art with just the dots and stuff, and then promotional shot, bunch of logos. On the bottom, here's more warnings and Kaiyodo and another picture and your winning lottery number. But let's get this open. See what all this comes with. Here's the unboxing. Figure in the tray, and as usual, we get a big, nice graphic for the background, and this fits right along with the one that came with Midoriya. We have double layers going on here. Instructions. Because it looks like it has alternate eyes or something, and I don't remember them saying that. Or I'm getting old and forgetful, which is probably more likely. Swapping out hands. The word balloon things going on the stand, attaching the effects together. I didn't realize that either. Does have an eye feature, but thankfully it's not moving eyes, it's just the swappable. That's cool. He's got a back hole and a butthole. I guess that's pointing out the articulation at the boot top. But anyway, and what we end up with in hand is a big beefy figure. Unfortunately, it's not without its frustrations. It's not Revoltech Venom levels of frustration, believe me, oh, I don't want to throw this through a window, but it seems more problems pop up with the big beefy figures from Kaiyodo than it does with the smaller lean ones. It's not as fun as the Amazing Yamaguchi Midoriya, but at the same time, yeah, let's just go through it. First up, right off the bat, looking at it in a vanilla stance, it looks better than past Amazing Yamaguchi figures. These are meant to be posed in extreme, crazy stances. And most of the time when you try to stand it just straight up and down, it looks awkward, but this, it's not as bad. But it's a shame that All Might's costume has so many straight lines that run from shoulders to torso, down to legs, around all kinds of articulation points that are needed to make this a Revoltech figure. So as you're moving around, you're gonna get things out of position. It's just, it's unavoidable. I feel like it could be a little thicker in the torso, but as is, this is all the muscle that All Might needs. I mean, it is just packed with little sculpted details of traps and deltoids and biceps, and I'm just naming muscles I know off the top of my head. I ain't got them, so I don't need to know them. Abs are nicely front and center, as well as the leg muscles running all the way down to the boot. It gets kind of not as detailed in the brighter parts, but at the same time, that's okay. It's supposed to be a thicker type material for the gauntlets and the boots. You see the soles down on the bottom of the boots. No detail under, but that's okay. Have the wingtips sculpted off the back of the arms right there, as well as a V coming down on the back of the hand. Belt is a separate floating piece, and it floats more whenever you're in poses. In this stance right here, it's fairly tight, going to stay in position. It does a lot to help hide whenever you're gapping it up at the waist. And then as far as the colors go, no shading here. It's just straight up bright white. It's a nice shade of red. It's a beautiful yellow. It's a dark blue. Everything works off of each other just like in My Hero Academia. You can see it kind of missed the line in places, but my biggie is that it covers. The stance is very crotch forward, but that's also the hero stance.
Here is my crotch! So heroic!
Get up to the head, it's unmistakably All Might. There's the big old Boy Scout smile with the pearly whites and the blacked out eyes where you can't hardly see, and then the hair coming up as it should on the back coming out and swirling out, but I don't see any shading, and I think that's what throws me off here. In the cartoon, much like the contrast between the colors on the costume, there's some shading and very dark blackness used on the face for a contrast between skin tone and shadow. And that's missing here. The sculpt and details are so nice that you can't quite tell what's going on until you realize, oh, it's missing that shadow work. But it also doesn't have it on the body, so the aesthetic fits for the whole figure. Big surprise, my biggest problems here are in the articulation department. So we're going to switch it up a little bit. I'll put my nitpicks after articulation because we're going to go all through it, and then I'm going to come back and say, right off the bat, the hair, like we've seen with some masked characters in this line, is a separate piece from the head. So when you go up, it goes up under, so it doesn't hinder movement. Under that is a dumbbell joint with a ball going up into the skull and then down into the neck. And then below that is a ball joint at the, well, it's not quite bottom of the neck, it's under the whole neck assembly. So at the top, you can look up, can work it down a bit, little tilt up there, and then swivels, but you can already see this trying to move. It's slightly loose, but it doesn't fall under the weight of the head. All that together, you can put the head anywhere you want, especially tilt-wise. On the sides of the chest, that's sliced off like we see with the big guys in this line, and that moves forward and back. But if there's any joint that I wouldn't mind them doing away with, it'd be this one. I'm sure it does a lot to help with the shoulders themselves because that is it's a double ball joint. It goes down into this outside joint, then there's a hinge, and then that comes to a ball joint going into the bicep. And that's the best I can do. If that didn't make sense, there's a joint there. With that, you can hinge it up and kind of work it back and make it look like the shoulder's still attached. But if you go too far out, you do get it gapped up. And then, of course, that rotates all the way around. The shoulder piece is a separate piece, and it kind of moves around, but it's more, shit, I don't know what's under there. The left side seems to move just a bit more, but I think it's just pegged in there. And then we have nothing in the arm until we get to the elbow. That's a bit of a Revoltech joint. It bends, and you get up to, well, most of the way. Then you can also rotate there, knock it off all night. And then it rotates on both sides, so you can twist the forearm too. But then there's also a swivel halfway down to the wrist that turns the cuff itself. So if you have the arm in a position that doesn't look right and this point is off to the side or under, you can rotate it around and bring it there. Again, because of the costume lines, it looks okay there. It's just the yellow right there that looks misaligned when you twist it. Then Revoltech joint in the wrist, there's a swivel, hinge, swivel. You can go side to side, good distance, and then work it around, work it up and down. In past figures, this was always kind of annoying because it was a Revoltech joint going down the middle and the abs themselves were a cover piece. Now, there's actually, you come apart, there is a ball joint there and also one down underneath. Somehow they've engineered the arc back out of it. And I think it's because this middle piece is so long that it hits the assembly down inside the crotch and ass piece. That's okay because it still crunches all to hell. I would be careful because the back of that center piece is pointed and you know where this is going. It's very easy to come down and it goes on the outside of that and you'll be like, what the? Stand up straight. It's kind of hard to get it in there, but once you do, then you can actually stand straight up and avoid frustration. I think it's a ball joint coming down into the hip. With that, you can get to about right here without doing any magical craziness. But if you twist and bring it up, you can get it up to about 90. Back, out, right there. And then there is a good amount of rotation on that ball joint, but there's also a swivel right there that if you turn it, it's angled a bit, but it's very, very tight. So if you do bring the leg out, you can twist that more, and it looks like it kind of fakes it to bring it up higher. But again, you're breaking the costume details all up. Single knee with the kneecap attached to the bottom piece, and at first you think, oh, there's no way that's going to happen, but oh, bing, kicks his own almighty ass. But you also do end up with that knee spike. Rotation at the boot, that also gives you some forward and back. And I don't know if you can manipulate, well, that one goes side to side. Is that a Revoltech joint under there? So if you want it to go a certain direction, pull the boot off, and then you can turn it and go whichever way, which is actually what they're saying in the instructions right there, now that I have some context to it. And then we get to the ankle, and that is the same setup as the shoulder. There is a swivel, and then a ball hinge, and that pegs down to a ball going into the foot. So with that, you get some shift back and forward, along with it moving out of the way to ankle all the way down to ankle. That is a verb, to ankle. Notice when you come back forward, well, depending on which part of that joint you use, comes to there, it can hit. If you shift forward and then go there, it ankles up. Then, of course, it's a ball joint. It's going to ankle all side to side. And then a toe joint that goes all the way up. And like I promised, here's the nitpicks. A lot of people don't care for the Revoltech system. I'm pretty good with it from the waist up. But you get below the waist, well, even below the hips to the knee, it's not the strongest joints in the world. The weight of the figure itself falls. The joint's not loose or floppy. There's just too much plastic here. And that's true for the ankles too. They don't fall under their own weight, but with this much figure on top of it, they like to kind of buckle at times. It's not bad if you find that sweet spot, but if you're trying to have the weight shifted forward, or especially on the toes, it's just not going to hold its own weight. It's mostly that ball joint going into the foot. That makes running poses on one foot nearly impossible. I mean, you cannot find that center spot. Maybe Jay Hernandez, the Amazing, somebody else can do it. But my patience level, after messing with this for an hour or two, diva. There we go. To put it in perspective, the neck joint is just as loose, but all it has above it is the weight of the head. So you can put it anywhere you want, and it's going to stay. The ankles, unfortunately, have all this muscle mass riding on them. Also on the head that came in the package, this hair wing is lower, and it's just messing with my, oh, those should be symmetrical. They should be able to heat and bring it up. Now, for accessories. All Might comes with several sets of hands. He comes with 2 fists, comes with 2 flat palm chopping hands, comes with 2 peace signs, or, well, whatever you want to use it for. Comes with 2 pointing fingers, comes with 2 clenched up hands, 2 splayed out hands that work for, several situations, including this, and then the thumbs up hand that he's always given behind his back, The first time I went to pop these off, they were very, very tight. But as I've changed them out, they're a lot easier. And with Amazing Yamaguchi, I'm always afraid that this joint will pop out of the forearm, but I have not had that problem at all. And then as far as heads go, he comes with, again, this big old smiling noggin. And then he comes with that exact same head, but a sweat bead running down the side. Do you see it? There it is. That's the only difference. But then he comes with a more angry head, still looking at the pearly whites, but there's frustration here, or exertion, something. And then lastly, that same head, but with some blood coming out of the mouth. You see it? It's right there. Swapping out the heads, again, the one on it in the package, well, okay, you're going to run into this if it's like mine. And I don't actually mind that because then you can pop the head off without all the body working against you. Pull out the hairpiece and then swap the head. But with the alternate heads, I've noticed you got to put the hairpiece back on and then kind of blindly jab. The other ones are very hard to pop on there for some reason. And I'm also trying to avoid the hair wings for fear of snapping those off. Once you're done with that, that just pops back on. And even though the hair is the same on all 4 heads, I like that they gave us full, complete skulls. If this had just been swappable faces, you would have seen the seam coming around. Unlike Deku, where the hair is coming over and hiding the seam line, it would have just been... well, not that you can't see seam lines on the whole figure, but that would have been distracting. But besides alternate heads, there are also alternate eyes. In the package, on the smiling face, there was eyes that are just blacked out. Then there are eyes with highlights in both eyes looking forward. One with a highlight in the right eye looking up and to the right. There's a set that's opposite looking up and to the left. And then there's that same configuration, one with the left eye with the highlight looking down and left, and then a right eye with the looking down and right. Comes with this tool, and that's actually just a little plate in there that you pull out and swap them out. Easy peasy. They're not tiny and I'm not old. But there is a ridge right there that I've taken to just clamping in, and then I can just, I'm not fumbling around. I just stick it in there, push them in, done. There's these effect pieces. It comes with 3 of them. They're made out of a clear plastic. You can see through, but then it frosts as it goes out to the tips, which is a cool effect. And that's why All Might has peg holes here, and, well, maybe not here or here, but on the back of the foot too. Comes with this case with extra little joints for those effects pieces. You can store the extra eyes that don't go in the heads, and then it has this clear adapter piece. The joints have a mushroom peg side and then a flat side. The mushroom goes into the body. The clear adapter goes on the outside of that, and then there are peg holes on the inside of the effect. And it works good if you're taking pictures and stuff, but it kind of breaks the fantasy whenever you actually look at it. And at first I thought the extra joints were to snap this together, but these just have little pegs. And the third one goes on, and you can make a full ring. Unfortunately, like the joints of the legs, you plug this in, and that clear adapter doesn't peg onto the joint tight enough to actually hold the weight of the effect piece. You can fake it, and I think they show this in the instructions. If you rotate this up, get the arm of it up on top, it holds the weight because it's all hanging down, but as soon as you move it, it's just rotating on the... Yeah, I don't enjoy this. In fact, I don't think it's worth having the peg holes there. And then finally for accessories is the stand. And given how loose or unbalanced it can become, I have a feeling this is going to be on the stand a lot. Well, I have the clamp on there. You don't necessarily need that. It's mostly plugging into the back. Oh, and I just realized why they gave you a hole in the back right here. That's because the stand isn't tall enough to actually reach up to his back. Because to hell with giving us an extra extension here, right? And with that, there's your one-legged poses or up on running or whatever. But it also comes with this thinner stand that does have an extra extension in it, and it has this little clip on the end of it. Well, it's a separate piece that you can plug on. You can clip the word balloon in. Smash! Then that plugs into the stand, and you can rotate it around or put it wherever you want. It comes with two of them. It's a smash and a smash. There is a clear piece of film on the back that makes this one a bit more hazy. I found the edge on this one, peeled it off, and you can see how it's clear. Oh, I found it. All Might's size is a bit deceiving too. As you're messing with it, you think, oh, he's not that big, but you put a measuring tape up to him, he's actually 7 1/4 inches tall to the top of his head, and then almost 8 to the top of the hair wings, which makes him quite a bit bigger than the Amazing Yamaguchi Midoriya appropriately. This looks fantastic. And I didn't expect it to be this much bigger than the McFarlane Toys All Might. Here's the GameStop version, and then the regular version that I put a Band Presto head on just to try it out, and then I lost the head. And I think it works pretty well if you're only doing the McFarlane figures and want an All Might to replace the McFarlane version. Here is their Deku and Uraraka, both with replaced heads from the Band Presto statues. Then for McFarlane, Shigaraki, and Todoroki, those are just stock. I haven't replaced anything on those. Here's the Figma Deku and Bakugo, and if you like your All Might a little more imposing, this works even better with that line. He's a big boy next to our standard 6-inch figures like the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Stormtrooper and then the Marvel Legends Black Panther. And Cobra wouldn't stand a chance if he's with the Hasbro Classified Series Snake Eyes and Duke. Oh, the stand does a great job, actually. So at the end of the day, like I say during every Amazing Yamaguchi review, there's some things to love, there's some things to hate. You just have to decide which path you want to take. I wasn't planning to rhyme that. It just... As always, the posability is amazing here, and that may be why they call it Amazing Yamaguchi. I love My Hero Academia. It's nice to get a good version of All Might, but it's hard to overlook some of the loosey-goosiness. The knees, the ankles, they would work perfectly in a smaller, thinner figure, but you get this much plastic on top of them and they just fall out under the weight. I can't say it's over-engineered, even though it technically is. It's actually been de-engineered a bit as the line's gone on. I mean, remember those first figures? There was too much. I love them, but it's just too much. So they've done a good job of easing back a bit, but at the same time it seems like they're still experimenting. And I feel like at some point they just need to go, okay, this is how the big figures are, this is how the small figures are, let's just make it standard from now on and go from there. We know it works, keep with it, need to even it out. And while I can appreciate that, it also makes pre-ordering these things kind of a mystery. What am I getting? What's going to go on? Is it going to work? Am I going to like it? I like the look of it, but how does it feel? And for a lot of people, understandably so, that's a risk not worth taking. So yeah, come up with some kind of standardization, and I feel like more people would jump on this line because they kind of know what they're getting instead of up in the air. But as far as All Might goes, yes, there are problems, but him and Deku standing next to each other, that's great. I'd be interested to see what the Figma one looks like, but until then, here's All Might for my shelf. So if you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus if you're interested in seeing videos early or just in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. Oh, it almost looks like Smash is just floating there. I mean, you see the stand, and this edge right here is reflecting too much light, but... yeah, can I get it? No, it's going to stay there.